I did rows yesterday and this morning I'm feeling weak, feeling really weak, uncharacteristically weak. I feel insecure in my lower back. I just feel weak in my lower back. I feel my middle traps, lower traps. I feel the rhomboids as I expected, but I didn't expect the lower back kind of, how do I describe it? Kind of like a light feeling. I don't feel tight in that section of my body anymore. Like the whole lower back feels a little loose. So doing the squats this morning, I felt rather concerned that today might be the day that I fail it. But then you look at the video and you see the weights actually moved quite all right. So this is where the confusion settles in, because the camera always seems a little bit better. Because even on those reps where you feel like you've spent an eternity in the middle range of the squat, you look at the video and you're like, oh, it didn't seem all too bad. So I don't know, maybe my body was trying to tell me, okay, this is a tax part of the body. Let's not tax that bit of the body anymore. So this is the whole thing, for the longest time I've kind of tippy-toed around deadlift volume, because I basically identified that you can't push both. You can't do lots of squats and lots of deadlifts and expect harmony. It's one or the other. In the past I've done lots of volume in the squat and lots of very, very light, basically greasing the groove type stuff with the deadlift. That's doable. That really is doable. But, doing 80% for 3 sets of 5 or something like that on the deadlift and then doing the same thing on the squats, it's impossible. You're not going to last very long doing that. So high frequency training is a different type of beast. You kind of have to consider how you're going to go about things. In my mind, there's these buckets, I like to call them, which, I put exercises in, and a lot of these exercises are in the same bucket. Like for instance, squats and deadlifts for me are in the same bucket. And if I want to progress the squat, like I have been all of this year, I haven't done a lot of deadlifting because all of my points are going into the same bucket exercise, which is the squats. The trouble is now, because I'm not very familiar with the rows, I feel like I want to put rows in the same bucket as the squat and the deadlift. It's very early on, and obviously it's a new shock, new stress to the system, but I feel like, I didn't even push it very, very hard yesterday. Those barbell rows were freaking light, man. I did 40 kilos for 5 sets of 15. 40 freaking kilos, man. I remember a time where I could do 100, way, way, way back in the day. So I've started really slowly, and even the slow start, I already feel the lower back. It's really interesting because, for years I used to kind of think to myself, okay, I've got a really good deadlift, but static strength and I don't know what to call it, dynamic strength are two different things. Like I've said many stories of, watching my grandma, work in the garden, in her garden. It was just like always, breathtaking to see her in a bent over position gardening seems like for hours on end. It's like, this lady's not getting freaking tired yet. I go out there to dig a hole to plant a new tree, and after 2 minutes, I'm freaking spent, man. My lower back is like on fire, throbbing, completely pumped up, and I'm debilitated. Yet my grandma holds that position. She can dig all day. It's like, what the hell is going on, man? I swear to God, this lady can pull 300 off the floor. So I've said many stories like this of like laborer's strength, that resilience, that ability to constantly contract a muscle, constantly be in this position, which is very vulnerable for me, I guess. Even though I have this like pulling strength, I cannot hold those positions. And so things like barbell rows, I always felt like they're going to absolutely murder me because it's a static position. You have to hold that damn thing for a very long time, which is probably why I'm also very bad off the floor. As soon as I get that bar moving, I feel good. But that off the floor, that fully bent over hip flex position, I'm so weak in that position. And the barbell freaking row is essentially you sitting in that position for the duration of the freaking set. So if you're doing a set of 15, you're there for, I don't know, probably at least 15 seconds, 20, 25 seconds, or whatever the duration of the set is. So I guess it's really good for me, but at the same time, it's probably going to be really costly for me because that is clearly a weakness. Whereas other people might have different weaknesses, right? So for instance, my grandma, she had this years upon years, ever since she was probably a child. She would be, working that agricultural kind of lifestyle, You know, I don't know why I want to say this, but in Yugoslavian we call it poljoprivreda. You know, like it's this farmer kind of life. You know, villages. You know, they go out there, take care of the animals, they work on the land. And when harvest is there, even when they're planting the seeds, it's just non-stop freaking working with the earth. And if you have any experience holding a freaking shovel or a pickaxe or a hoe or whatever you're working the earth with, it's freaking hard work, man. I don't care what your lifts are in the gym. I give you a freaking shovel and I send you out into the backyard. I reckon 30 minutes you spent, because it's a different type of strength. It's completely different because it calls upon this holding position while moving. And we can talk about core strength. We can talk about all these different things, but just get yourself a shovel. Like my grandma's never done a freaking sit-up in her life or any of the gym stuff. Yet I reckon she could outlast me in that position, working the earth, it's years upon years upon years. And so as I'm kind of like, going through the routine today for the squats, I'm thinking about this barbell row business. I don't know. It's probably the most specific to freaking working the earth. Digging, shoveling, whatever, hoeing, I don't know what the freaking term is. We call it motika in Yugoslavian, turning the earth over. You are basically in a bent over position, bent barbell row position. There's degrees to this. You can go 90-degree freaking hip flexion, or you can do like a 45-degree thing, whatever. As long as you're bent over, the more you bend over, obviously the more harder it is. But I specifically remember my grandma pulling weeds. This is in Australia. Pulling weeds in her garden, and she's 90 degrees, dude. She's basically doing a stiff-legged deadlift, right? So minimal knee flexion, completely minimal. Her hips are like perfectly in 90 degrees. Her lower back is perfectly flat. And she would hold conversations with me. I'm like, and at the time, because I didn't train, I didn't really know. But later on, when I started training, I was like, God damn, man, grandma, man, you're a freaking machine, man. Like, I always made jokes about it. She was a little older, when I was around 25, 26, when I started deadlifting and whatnot. But I always used to say to her, man, I feel like if you were 20 years younger, I'd teach you how to deadlift, and I reckon you could have an impressive deadlift. Because I always felt that she could just rip that bar off the floor, because that position for her is just clearly not a factor. She can just literally stay there forever. Whereas with me, 40 kilo freaking barbell rows, and I'm there like crying like a little girl. The following day, I'm there like, oh my God, my back is not feeling right. It's like, what a glaring weakness. And this is like the same old stuff when you think to yourself, okay, what are the lifts? What are the movements in the whole gym, thought process? What are the movements evoke the same emotional, physical response like the barbell row? Clearly the barbell row I always kind of ran away from it because it touches my lower back. Better not do that. Well, the whole thing about is chasing the thing that you crap at. And I'm crap at this. I can do pull-ups, always done pull-ups because once again, it's vertical. I can just jump up. There's no, lower back pressure. You just pump the reps up. Going to a bent over position. Okay, so you suck at off the floor, you suck at barbell rows. Maybe you should do some barbell rows. It's kind of like when you're doing 45 hypers, or if you're doing GHD back raises, and you just hold that position, at the top or whatever. You hold it at the top, and you have the most muscular tension through that glute, hamstring, lower back. I'm pretty good when I'm kind of going through the range of motion, but holding that position. I know that the GHD is kind of like different degrees and different positions, but holding a full contraction, being under that weight. Like I can do good mornings all right, but I spend like a second at the bottom. Get me to stay there? Trouble. So even the slightest freaking barbell row exercise yesterday has me feeling some type of way this morning. And already I'm like, man, I don't know if I can make this squat. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. It's an interesting response. I know I say all sorts of things, and I'm always kind of adapting and chasing my own tail, but I feel like I want to spend some time on the rows. I'm not going to promise the frequency or whatever. Let's see how I progress and how I recover, but I do really want to focus on the rows. I've got a few motivations for it. Obviously the lower back, obviously the upper middle back, but also the elbows playing up, the shoulders are playing up, everything's freaking playing up ever since the banded bench rest. So let's see if I can you know, get good at barbell rows to some degree, and let's see if my body starts to feel a little bit better and I can get back to doing the push-ups and whatnot. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.